I know that the advice out there on getting smarter is all vague and not that helpful, like, be curious and learn new things. So, if you implement these habits I'm about to share with you, I promise you will come back to this video in like 30 days, amazed by how much more intelligent and interesting you sound. So, today I'm gonna talk about the 5 habits you gotta implement, how they will help you become smarter, and how do I personally implement them, plus how you can implement them with some sample routines and, of course, homework. Because we're not leaving this video just to jump on another self improvement video. So, habit 1, learn new things, but actually practically, and I'll explain how. So, you gotta try to read more, watch YouTube, listen to podcasts. So, basically, first step is to choose a topic that interests you and just go from there. And if you have nothing that interests you, you can just go for top media, for example, top podcast in health, finance, IT, maybe educational books, mental health and mindset, YouTube videos on self improvement. So these are just some areas you can look into. In my opinion, Spotify podcasts are the easiest, and also they have high quality. Like, YouTube sometimes is like a jumbled mess, so it's hard to find great content and great resources, but it's still good. But if you want a resource that is easy to get into, that is not hard, like reading a book, just try finding a good podcast. Okay? So, reading is still a good habit to add, even if it's hard, and I recommend adding it somehow. It increases both your EQ, emotional intelligence, and IQ, according to several studies. And how I personally implement this habit in my day to day is I make sure to listen to at least 10 podcasts per week on self improvement, self development topics that interest me. I might also search for topics in social sciences like sociology, philosophy, because that's my personal and academic interest. I also make sure to watch an hour of YouTube every day. It might be self development, it might not be, but yeah, at least I'm learning something there. And I make sure to read at least for 20 minutes a day. And this habit is still in the making. Like, I do fall out of it easily, but I make sure to make up for it every time. So, second habit is to record and analyze. So, for example, journaling, note taking, writing, voice recording, and basically how you can implement it is while consuming media. Let's say you're listening to a podcast or reading a book, you can write down anything you find interesting, highlight anything interesting, um, anything that stands out for you, or anything you would like to add to your life. And after consuming the media, the book, the YouTube video, the podcast, you could record what you learned, what you didn't know, and what you found interesting. How does this relate to you and your life? Like, you could talk to yourself about how this piece of media deeply affected you. And of course, don't neglect your feelings when writing or recording or voice recording what your analysis. Like, make sure to include your feelings in them because they're really important indicators, and they'll help you understand how you think and solve problems, which is very important. And of course, you can always journal at the end of the day. You can write down any lessons you learned, but it doesn't have to be related to what you consume. Like, just make sure to let your mind speak for itself. We don't really give ourselves enough time to just think and just ponder. So do that at the end of each day with a journaling practice. So, how I personally implement these recording and analyzing habits is I do voice journals. I used to do written journals, like I write pages about how I'm feeling and stuff, but voice journals are faster, and yeah, I prefer them more. But I also still do written journals every once in a while, maybe every week, every time I'm like experiencing a lot, for example. I also take notes all that time. You can ask anyone around me. I'm always Google searching, I'm always writing notes, I'm always on my phone because like I'm writing notes. Or I will use my laptop. So I'll have my laptop beside me and I'll watch a video and I'll write anything interesting. And also I do random voice recordings or notes for any ideas that come to my head. Like if I think of something very phenomenal, I'll come back to it later. And even if I don't come back to these voice recordings or notes, I still let myself think, right? It's a good exercise to let yourself think. Habit number 3 is about processing and letting your creative juices flow. So, this is about sitting in silence, doing nothing, daydreaming, meditating, visualizing. So, it's about giving your brain a break. It helps you process things. Your mind will come up with more interesting connections and ideas if you let it just do nothing for a while. You're not really trying to force anything here, okay? The best ideas you'll ever have in your life actually come out of yourself. It's not out of other people. You have to stop like this endless search for this hack that will change your life or this thing that will help develop you or your mindset, and just sit with yourself. Sit with yourself, meditate, daydream, let yourself think. Let yourself think or not think, it doesn't matter. And how I personally implement that is I meditate for at least 20 minutes a day. I might do it multiple times a day. I also, instead of using social media as my break, I prefer to daydream, think, and visualize my dreams. Habit number 4, which is all about revisiting what you learned. Like, there's no point in learning stuff if you're gonna forget them. So make sure to read your writings, listen to your audio recordings again, re-expose yourself to the media you just consumed. For example, you could re-listen or reread the books you liked. You can also use flashcards or reread your highlights if you had any. Okay, so it's very important to do that, not just because you don't want to forget, but also you want to get a fresher perspective on things. Like, you're not the same person as that person who consumed the media a lifetime ago. I don't know how long ago. Like, sometimes I listen to something and I come back to it with a very different understanding of the content, very different application of the content. Very, maybe sometimes I come back to it, I'm like so proud of myself because I unconsciously incorporated all that into my life. Like, I'm like, girl, I might not have written or applied much, but I sure did learn. And you can also take this revisiting moment to decide if there's something new you want to add to your life, something you want to change, anything you want to apply that you didn't apply before. And how I personally like to implement these revisiting habits is I like to use these playlists in YouTube, for example, or Spotify. So I'll have like an absorb playlist or like a playlist for psychology, playlist for health and wellness, stuff like that. And the absorb playlists are basically playlists I come back to when I want to feed my mind good content. Like I'm feeling lost or unmotivated or sad, I'll just come back to these and re-listen. And also any saved posts. Sometimes I have saved posts on Instagram, and actually I was going through my saved posts before like working on this video, and they kind of helped me. Like, not gonna lie, like I wasn't gonna get up. I was planning on moving the recording date further, but listening to some of these saved posts gave me some courage to come on here. So yeah, never estimate the power of revisiting. You liked it for a reason, you saved it for a reason, so make sure to come back. Also, I make sure to read my book highlights again. I might take notes on them again. I read my notes randomly. I make sure to always make some time to read what I wrote, and also use that as an opportunity to organize and declutter my notes. So I'll declutter my notes, clean them up, and in the process, I'm relearning them. Same with voice notes. Like, I might listen to my voice notes and then convert them to written like notes. So I'm just relearning the information. I might also revisit my bookmarks, for example. And habit number 5, the most important habit, which is about enjoying life and stopping the worrying about self improvement. It is so important to go outside, have hobbies, visit new places, plan hangouts with friends, and be around people, especially if it involves like exercise and movement, like hot girl walks and stuff. Like, really, do what excites you, because that's when the best ideas and insights comes. And like outside of that, it's just important to enjoy life. Like, what's the point of becoming disgustingly over educated if you're just miserable? Like, I don't see what's the point. So yeah, do what excites you, follow your happiness. If you want to be creative, you should especially do that, because creativity comes from living life and just going out and touching grass, basically. So how I personally implement that is like I practice slow living, so I'm not in the rush, I'm not in the grind and hustle mode. Like, I don't care about that. I'm also practicing gratitude. I'm also always hanging out with friends. Maybe we're going on walks together. I'm always doing art. I always follow what is exciting to me at the moment. I like playing video games. I like watching shows. Like, I'm a normal person, and you shouldn't beat yourself into becoming this monk type of person. Like, really, relax. Like, you can still have everything you want and enjoy life and live softly, okay? So let's move on to sample routines. So I'll give you some routines based on who you are as a person and what you want to get out of this. So my first routine would be for people who are serious about this, like it's the full package. So my advice to you is to implement reading every night for at least 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes is like little, but we'll start with this as a baseline. You can also listen to a podcast episode every day, and during the podcast, make sure to take notes and highlight stuff. Also, organize them so you can come back to them later. Journal every night, at least 2 full pages, or voice record for like 20 minutes. That's how I like doing it. You can also meditate for at least 20 minutes, like I do it. Stretch it to an hour, why not? Also, make sure to reread your notes every week. Write down like short, informal essays about them, like just reflections, and think of ways to implement them to your life. Like, write down any tasks you want to add to your life, any habits. If you can't do it now, schedule it. Create a calendar event to look back on this task or this to do or this habit later. But you must add it, okay? Because learning without applying is useless. And of course, make sure to have fun. Second routine would be for the busy people. So you want to do less, but you still want to get great benefits. So this is like the fast mode, the efficient mode. So what I would recommend is to listen to podcasts whenever you're commuting, walking, exercising, whatever. Like, you're doing something else, basically. After you're done with the piece of media, the podcast, record your reflections and what you learned from it. And whenever you feel like using social media, I'll advise you to take a break and do nothing. Just meditate, okay? And re-listen to your voice recordings on the weekends or whenever you're free. Note anything important, anything interesting, anything you'd like to apply, same as I said before. And of course, have fun and make sure to not push yourself. Busy queen, okay? Busy king, I don't know. Lastly, the third routine, which is for people who are gonna feel like I'm not that smart enough to do all of that, which you are wrong. You are smart, girl. Okay, so my advice to you, if you feel like I need the easy mode, okay, out of this, is to pick a YouTuber or a podcast you really like and listen to them consistently. You can do one video, one podcast a day, listen for how long you like, but make sure to listen every day or at least a few times every week, okay? Write down anything you find interesting. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just write anything you like. And always make sure to give yourself nothing time so your brain can think. That's actually, I feel like, the core issue here. Like, you really gotta focus on this one. I feel like most people I meet that feel like they're not intelligent, they just don't give themselves enough time to discover how amazing their brains are, how amazing their thoughts are, because they're constantly like watching a movie, surrounded by friends, listening to a YouTube video, reading a book. They don't give themselves time to just reflect, to just sit down with their feelings, with their thoughts, with their mind, with their soul. Okay, so make sure to give yourself some time to do that by maybe meditating for 10 minutes a day at least. You can stretch it more and more as you find it more comfortable. Try to consume less sometimes. Maybe that's your problem. Um, Also, make sure to re-listen to the content creator that we talked about, like the podcast episode or the YouTuber you like again, so you can catch more stuff. Like, you'll be amazed. Like, you're gonna re-listen to some of these stuff and you're gonna be like, oh, I'm already doing most of this. Like, I'm already that person who does everything in this video, even though before I thought I could never. Okay, and you might come back with better perspectives, more deeper understanding of what the person might be saying, because it's okay. It's okay if you don't catch everything a person is saying. That means you're challenging yourself, and that's great. Okay? That's great. Make sure to always challenge yourself. And of course, don't beat yourself up and have fun. Have a fun life, okay? Enjoy yourself. Okay, so one small tip related to what I just talked about is find the balance. Like, make sure to assess these 5 areas again and again if you find yourself feeling lost or like, I'm not learning that much. So ask yourself, like, are you consuming but not applying? Are you consuming too much? Are you forgetting because you are not revisiting what you learned? Are you just listening to the same stuff over and over and not really learning anything new, not really exploring new topics, not challenging yourself? Like, try to find that sweet spot between all these different areas where you actually are expanding your knowledge at a good rate, okay? And now to the homework. And the homework is self explanatory. Take a moment to sit down and reflect on this video, and then create your daily or weekly routine. You can use some of the ones I mentioned above, or you can create your own. So make sure to decide what are you gonna do, how you're gonna do it, and why you're doing it. When are you gonna do it? How many times are you gonna do it per week? And for how long? And you can comment down below the routine if you'd like to keep yourself accountable with the community. And of course, make sure to stick to it. Okay, that's the most important part. And a bonus, you could come back to this video after 30 days or whenever you feel like it and let me know. Let us all know how much you've learned, how you've grown as a result of implementing this routine. And lastly, I want to remind you to remind yourself all the time, especially when you're having a hard time or feeling dumb, that you ain't dumb. You are the smartest. You're literally the best, and you're moving at such great pace. You are the smartest cookie out there. So, in the words of great Miss Athelia, HDIC, go on and have a great day on purpose, and see you soon, my loves. Bye bye.